Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic, and we need to focus on that. If not for yourself, then do it for your children.
Black book is in the
Hey,
Black
book.
men talk, black book. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that movement, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 500,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And you are watching Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community. And I'm joined by one of my co-hosts, Kofi Sadat. What's up?
Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, brother. How you doing? It's been a
I am
minute.
Blackalicious. What's going on?
Good, man. Good. Just, leaning into the joy of life and feeling good today. What about yourself? How you doing?
I am outstanding. There was a time where we said we would ever get any summer weather. We are getting it.
We're getting it. We're getting it.
We're getting it and then some, and I am not complaining.
Not complaining at all. We had a couple smoke screens here in Toronto
Yes.
and across North America. So, woke up in the morning and the sky was gray. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. What's a win you've had since I last chatted with you?
Oh man, it's been a wild ride. It's been really good in terms of community and family. Just a lot of things going on. I want to hail up my son Sekou. He holds the annual what we call play day for 8 teenagers and 20 somethings, where they just get out there, forget about their devices. They're doing tug of war. They're doing races. They're eating cotton candy, and it's all free. So, it was a great day. He did it this Friday by Dawes Road, Taylor Creek Park. So I want to hail him up. And I think that was a great win, because not just him, but the team of young people who will definitely be stepping into the void of leadership. So I want to give it up to all those guys who were involved in the event. They did a great job. It was intergenerational. So not just young people, but, adults as well, and it was very community focused and very diverse. So I want to give it up to MBS and the squad of folks that were doing that. What about yourself? What kind of wins have you been having since we last spoke?
I was at an event yesterday, and there was a gentleman who I hadn't seen for a while. He's probably in his 30s. Yeah, probably in his maybe mid 30s. Father with two kids, a daughter that's 11, a son that's about 4 or 5. Right. And he came in, he was on crutches. I go, what's that all about? And I thought, I said, what could be, it could be anything from maybe he hurt his knee, hurt his ankle, etc. Long story short, he's been through quite a medical challenge recently. He was not feeling well. They first thought he may have had colon cancer. Oh, wow. But it seems that they're beginning to know that he may have Crohn's disease. But the thing is, he's got pain in his knees. He can't run.
Right. Yeah, for
he
sure.
Can't run. And he's got his little 3-4-year-old running around. And he says, Daddy, why can't you catch me?
Oh, wow.
And it was I focused in on him and gave him my full attention for about 25-30 minutes. And he said, I really appreciate you speaking with me. And I said, look, I always see him periodically. He said, hey, do you mind if I take your phone number? So right. No, I keep me in touch. Tell me what's going on. Keep me updated. It's up to him. And as soon as I got his phone number, I sent him a text message just saying, I'll tell you exactly. I'll share exactly what I said to him. I said, I want to thank you for sharing with me this evening. It really touched me. Please keep in touch. And he favorited the message. So I'll see if he follows up with me. I will probably follow up with him, but a dad with 2 kids
Yeah.
on the sidelines. And it's emotionally, it's really challenging to him. And I fully understood. So providing that support at that time was really important.
No, it's important. Definitely important. And I'm saying to all you dads, whether it's a physical thing, it's an emotional, it's a mental piece. You know, we're not Superman. So be humble when you can. And if you have to, and lean, you know, lean on those who will help to support you. Because sometimes you have no choice but to do that. And I guess kudos to you, brother, for reaching out to another.
I guess that's why I'm on this thing called ERT. You know, so
right.
But you know, just to add on what you're saying, every Superman has his kryptonite.
That's it. And Lois Lane. So don't forget about that.
Wait, yes, that's true. Well, that's another conversation altogether. I'll handle the kryptonite. The Lois Lane, that's maybe beyond my pay grade, but
there you go.
We'll do what we can. All right, so we're gonna go for a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna have a talk about Toronto Caribbean Carnival, which is coming up next weekend, I believe.
Yeah, it's here.
Wow, the summer is going by fast. So we're going to be talking about the Toronto Caribbean Carnival with Alpha King. We'll get some historical, present, and what does the future hold for this event? Because a lot of people I chat to, I ain't going to that. I've been to that years, etc., etc. So let's see where we're at. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Watch Black Canada Talking live on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, where Dr. Vibe and Cesar Diva Musa give their takes and POVs on news stories from a Black Canadian perspective.
Check out Black Men Can Talk live on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern, where Dr. Vibe, Kofi Sadat, and Kofi Morris, where Black Canadian men come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community.
All right, we are back on Black Men Can Talk. Let's do some housekeeping and let's get into our conversation. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. And like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of. Please feel free to email me, dr.vibe, the drvibeshow.com. And you know what? I'm just going to get right into introducing our friend for the evening. Alpha King is a prominent community leader and carnival producer in the Toronto Caribbean community who serves as vice president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Ontario and has long supported cultural showcases like the Trinidad Tobago Festival. He has various community and leadership roles. Vice president serves leadership for the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Ontario, coordinating local diaspora initiatives and community contact, and carnival pioneer. He's recognized for longstanding involvement in volunteering work, bridging Trinidad and Tobago traditions with the Toronto Caribbean Carnival since its history. So without further ado, let's bring up the man of the hour, Mr. Alpha King. What's going on, sir?
Oh, nothing much, gentlemen. I just thought that we should clear the air. I was 2 in 1967. All right. Wow. And this is now 59 years later? And here we are still talking about the birth, the inception of the Toronto, at the time, Caribana. You know?
Yes.
And that was my father that was really pioneer. My father and my friend's father, my family members, they were all instrumental in this, in bringing this to life. Not knowing that they were actually creating history when they were doing it, they were just doing it. Again, celebrating Trinidad and Tobago, and there were other islands involved, other people from other islands that were involved. So I like the moniker. I like being part of that history. I do remember that they tried to put on a mask on my head, but at 2 years old, this mask that my uncle Whitfield Belasco created for me was so big that my head kept falling over to the side. so, and of course, my mother was like, "No, they can't do that to the boy." And so, of course, they got me a smaller, a more manageable piece of equipment, and allowed me to parade down the route. So they didn't have like a kiddies carnival at that time. We were all part of the same thing.
One thing. All right. Mm-hmm. So you've been in it for a minute. That we're just letting people know that you're not new to the game.
No.
You know? So that's a wonderful thing to know, and even a good piece of history to share with our fans and whatnot. So I mean, we did do a introduction of yourself, right? But is there anything you'd like to share with our viewers? And welcome to Black Men Can Talk. But yeah, anything you want to share with our viewers, just really about your background when it comes to Carnival and otherwise, so we can be more educated about that.
Well, like I said, one of the things I think back in what was it, in 2017, that was the 50th year, and I was invited to actually I was invited to come out and speak before, but I was invited to that particular event so that they could celebrate some of the pioneers. Mm-hmm. And I came out, my father was there, my uncle, and a lot of my family members, the Belascos, the Kings, they were all out, and they gave them a moniker. They said the first family of Caribana. And I was really proud of that moment. And it's one of those things that just kind of sat with me for a while. And I was like, you know what, you guys really did something, and there were people, like I heard you saying in your introduction, I ain't gonna go this year. I'm over with that thing. That thing has launched a lot of other things. And I like I said, I was proud. I was proud to be able to be part of it and to be, sort of with the group that came there. I've met a lot of people over my years who have been part of it. There's a picture I ran across. I have an album that from Caribana 1967 that has been sitting in my office here, and every so often I get a chance to look at it and reminisce. And this year I kind of looked at it a little bit harder. And noticed my father and my uncle in the middle picture there. And I thought about, and I ended up calling some people about it and finding out more information as I, reminisced over this accomplishment.
Right. Nice. Dr. Vibe, I'll pass it on to you.
Oh, thank you very much, my brother. So let me ask, for you, what is Carnival, Caribana, whatever? What does it represent? Celebration, resistance, home, or something else?
For me, it's a touch of home, of my family's home. I was born in Toronto. My folks were born in Trinidad. Mm-hmm. And what Caribana was, and again, sitting around even years ago, sitting with my father and talking to him, he'd say things like, they came to me and asked me to put on this little showcase. Mm-hmm. and he was with a group of men from different backgrounds, and they all came together and they said, yeah, let's do this thing. And they said, well, the government of Canada actually asked them to come and put this thing on for the Expo 67 and show what you have, show what Trinidad and Tobago and the other islands, the islands of the Caribbean, have to offer. Mm-hmm. And they got some of their artists, some of their artisans, the people making masks, as I understand it. Louis Saldino's father, Harold Saldina, he mm-hmm. came out, brought the king and queen from Trinidad and Tobago up here, and had that on display. The winners from that carnival in Trinidad, and brought them up here. And there was this. I remember not only seeing a video but also remembering the story that there was they had to get the band members. They flew them up to Toronto, and they had to get the band members to Montreal. And they didn't have a truck driver. My father had a big car, but it wasn't enough to take them. So he jumped in the truck, gave the keys to another friend, set the keys to the car, and he drove them to Montreal in the back of a truck. So the big truck going down the highway down to Montreal. They arrive in Montreal. They put on this beautiful display. And they said, you know what? We still have all these people here. Why don't we go back to Toronto and share what we do in Trinidad on the streets of Toronto? So that's what they did. They came back with the same group of people, with the artisans, with all the band members, brought them back and put on this display that, like I said, 59 years later, here we are still talking about it.
Wow, that's incredible. And what's great is, hearing the stories, because a lot of times, with history, it's about times, dates, and places, but really stories is what make it connect with folks and, give it some life. So it's great to hear some of these stories that are happening around that. And I think I have that same album too, because my father-in-law was also, a musician and heavily involved in that way too. But yeah, it's nice to see that those pieces of our history are alive in that way. And so just even connecting to that, if it's okay if I ask another question, Dr. Bud, the importance of legacy. We can start there, right? So you've mentioned, your father and others who've passed down the legacy to you. And often what we find, in my limited observation, is that the young folks don't have a connection to the history and to the legacy. So how important do you think that is? Or is it important at all that they have a connection to the history, and how important is it for us to pass down that history to the young people who are now celebrating the carnival or the Caribana?
Yeah, and I think it's very important. And I think that it's more important than the actual one event or the multiple events that are spinning off from it. There is not only it was food, there was music, there was the magistry, and you have those three elements that could rival any museum anywhere. And I think that is one of the key things, is if we can, there's so much out there in newspaper articles and things that I've come across over the time. I recently lost my aunt, my mom's twin sister. I lost my mom a little over a year ago, and then her twin sister passed. And in doing, just getting together her obituary and doing those things and the eulogy, I came across an article about the Belltones. The Belltones were an all-female steel pan band, the first one in Canada that was right here in Toronto, that came out in 1966. So, and as I read the article, come to find out, I was blessed. I had two godfathers. One of them was Joe Brown. Joe Brown, the artist from Trinidad and Tobago, and he was the band director, so to speak. He put the women together in this band called the Belltones, and they performed here in Toronto. They performed for the Expo 67, and of course in the first Caribana as well. So these stories, as you say, as it's great to have them, but I hate that they're only up here, or that they're here and there with a few people. But with all the technology that we have today, I'm sure that we can put together something that can teach the youth about where this came from. It'd be great if we could, a lot of the things that over the years that have gone on that they've said is that, the city makes so much money from this one event. And it would be great to see that somehow they put something together that continues to make them money, not only make them money, but make the richness of what Caribana left them and have it as a shining light for the world as things, as you move forward. Wow, this came from our little Toronto. And of course, at the time, our little Toronto didn't have the CN Tower, didn't have all the big buildings and everything, but it was right here, the roots, right on the grounds.
Nice, thank you.
Are there been any efforts to document the history?
Along the way, there has been, but what you get is you get some people that have some knowledge, and you have some people, and there are a lot of people with some knowledge, but it's to get them all together in one cohesive room or together somehow. And I would love to be part of that, to see that happen. There's my friend Sam Cole Jr. His father was he was one of the first presidents of Caribana, and he's had many years involvement with the organization, but because it didn't do the things that he wanted to see it do, and again, like I said, there's I don't know what went on in the background, but whatever it is, he doesn't want to talk about it, and that we lose. You know what I'm saying? When historians that we have alive, and this man is well, and his mind is there.
Mm-hmm.
He drives still. He's 91 years old.
Right.
And he has that knowledge. I'd love to have him share his story.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of this is our story, but I'd love to hear him share his story with us.
Right. Yes. Are you able to hear?
Yes.
Are you ready to join us, Kofi Morris? You are muted at the moment.
Peace and blessings, family. Good to see you. It sounds like a lively conversation thus far. I know it's a topic that's close to our hearts. For those who've been part of this festival from young. So I'm glad that we're able to have Brother Alpha on the show tonight. So it sounds like this last part of what was just discussed has to do with the connection to some of the pioneers. Of this wonderful festival that we call Caribana, that has many different names. I'm sure you guys have touched upon that. But one of the things that I guess was coming to my mind in terms of, again, the roots of this festival, I want to kind of hear from you. What is it that, even as a young person, drew you to this festival? What is it that, of course, your family was involved in all of that. What was the spirit for you that made you feel like something happened?
Growing up, one of the things, of course, is they had the mass camp where they built all the costumes, and it was a place that the fellas, the wives, the aunties, the grandmas, everybody, and then all the kids were running around and trying on costumes and doing all those things. It was vibrant. I remember the times when I was young, the one running around, and then as I got older, and I remember at 20, like I said, I was saying earlier, in 2017, here we are at the 50th year, and I brought my children, my wife's daughter, and I brought them to the mass camp and got them to see what a mass camp looked like, and they were building the costumes there, and then of course they said, well, what size are they? And then they tried on the costumes and had them actually perform in the kiddie carnival that they had out in Scarborough. So again, something that started so long ago affected my children, and my children got a chance to be part of a historical event. it's those kind of little memories that come across. In talking to one of my uncles, he says, my father was not a mass man. He was not a musician, although sometimes he thinks he could sing. And there was those things that happened, but he brought people together. And he was always good at that.
Yes.
And when he realized the magnitude of what he was embarking upon, he worked with BWIA. So it wasn't a problem for him to get BWIA is British West Indies International Airlines, which is now, as you know, what is it? Caribbean Airlines. Yeah, it's changed names and whatever. So it wasn't a problem for him to get a ticket for his brother, who made mass in Trinidad, and said, "Listen, I'm doing this event. I need your help." And his brother jumped on the plane and came up. His brother comes up, realizes the magnitude of what they're about to put on, and didn't have the helping hands that he had. So what does he do? He says to my father, call your mother and any of the other family members that we can have, and have them come up to. So Eula Belasco, my grandmother, jumps on a plane with one of her daughters, with Pamela, and brings Pamela up. And what are they doing? They're in a Toronto mass camp setting, making costumes and getting ready for this showcase.
Wow.
So it already had spanned generations right there, right? As in its inception, in terms of what was happening, it was already becoming an intergenerational thing. And a big part of what we want to, of course, explore is like, what does the future look like? But recognizing all of these aspects of the past. We speak about this thing called Sankofa, which is this, fictitious bird, but it's a symbol of looking back to be able to move forward. West African culture, we recognize like the connections between the things that have happened in the past and how it maintains its consistency now. And I think that's some of the issues that people who were part of it from before its inception have issues with now, right?
Yeah.
It's losing some of that, the roots of it becoming mainly, jump and wave, kind of watered down version of its roots.
Yeah.
A lot of people from Grenada and things like that will talk a lot about the roots of it, and its connection, relative to Juve, and how Juve, has played a significant role in terms of maintaining some of the tradition. But even that is also kind of shifting in some cases as well. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on, on some of those things, and like how you've seen it kind of transform itself? And it's not the only culture that this happens with. So many other aspects of our culture. Dancehall, you could say the same thing. Reggae music, its roots with rockers and all of that. Then came dancehall. Now we have this dancehall versus rockers and versus conscious reggae and all of these things, but they all play a role. So I'm wondering, like, what has been your experience with some of those aspects? And is something like Juve something that you took part of in its early years?
Again, one of the good things, I guess, as I got a little bit older, was I got involved with the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Ontario. And we had a president who was a photographer at one time, and Horace Thorne. And he had also been around for the early years of Caribana, and took even a group of people he took to China to put on a parade, put on a celebration in there as well. And they flew them all over. And the current president, Jean Turner Williams, she was also in costume and went on that trip to China. And, so I get, every time that I get together with these people in the organization, I get a taste of what the true essence of the carnival was. And I asked those questions, and that's, as we were talking earlier with Brother Kofi there, and I was saying that we got to somehow hold on to those true meanings of what those things are, like what is Juve and things like that, and to be able to teach someone where it actually comes from, so that when they see Juve in Milton, in a day fete called Juve or something like that, it just does not doesn't take you all the way back. It just kind of, it's a watered down, as you say, a watered down version of what it really was. One of my first experiences I hadn't gone at least to Trinidad and actually experience a Juve until later on in my years. But to actually experience that and being out on the road throughout the night, being in early in the morning, arriving at some place at like 2-3 a.m. in the morning, party, open the gates, out on the road, the oil, the immersement into the culture was something else that no quote unquote Juve in Toronto, Ontario can cover, unless they give us the freedom to do as they do in our beautiful Twin Island nation.
That's such a good point. I and I want to say, like, my background is Jamaican, so my introduction to Carnival, also growing up in Toronto, is through Caribana as well. However, part of my family, or my wife and her family, live in St. John. So over the years, I've learned a lot more and experienced a lot more directly around, not just the Caribana thing, but understanding the history. And Juve is a great point, because I was even saying to my children and some youngers who went to a Juve, and I'm like, it's the middle of the day, and you guys are back, and all you're talking about is, water got sprayed on you, right? So I was just like, and trust me, I'm not going to be overly critical, because people have their thing, but I actually took the time to share with them, Juve. I mean, Juve itself means early in the morning, right? So if you're not even doing that, then you're not even in line with that. But I only say that, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, but the balance between, like, how do we strike a healthy balance between the financial or economic aspect of Carnival, right, and the cultural aspect of Carnival, where sometimes it's like, we can't do this for free, but at the same time we have to keep the culture together. So how would you suggest, or how you've seen the attempts for that to actually happen? What, in terms of the present state, where are we when it comes to that balance between the economics and the culture piece?
So when you say that, I'm not an economics guy, and I wasn't one of those people that were trying to figure out how I can take the funds and build something. However, what I have come across was that, or at least when they first did it, it was out of love. They put this on. It wasn't about making the money. Yes, they made some money in that first year, more than they had expected to, because that wasn't about making the money. And I think when you can do something from that aspect, you make a lot more. And that's what they did. They made a lot more because they did it out from their hearts, right? They offered their culture and put it together and put it out there on display. And what I just found out recently, that one of the events, and remember, this stems from the carnival in Trinidad, and one of the things that a lady has decided to do, and the Tobago festival is coming up. It's going to be its 5th year, and Pauline, I'm forgetting her last name at the moment, but she puts on this festival, a 3-day festival of Trinidad and Tobago culture. And as you say, what about the finance? She's put it on for free. and it's open to public. It's a spectacle to see and to realize that it is. Yes, there's cost and stuff like that for the booths and the vendors and things like that, but the artist, you got to pay the artist. You got to pay the people that are coming, and to have such a large event, a 3-day event, and it needs to be 3 days. When you realize you can't just pack, like I said, there's food, there's entertainment, there's the artistry, there's so much that packing all of that into one day, it's crazy. Just that's why Carnival. If you think in Trinidad, it's a number of days. There's the build up, there's the Pana Live, then there's the the Juve, then there's the 2 days on the road. So and it all ends with Wednesday. I need to rest. I need to go to Tobago and just take a breathe out. So seeing something like that here in Toronto, it warms my heart that they're doing it earlier this year. They're doing it in the end of August, as opposed to in September or later in the year when it's cold.
Right.
Our people, we love our nice summer weather, as we were talking, Dr. Vibe, without the smoke. and that's it's a blessing to see someone try to keep the culture alive through things like that. And so the future, what it holds, it's going to require people to get together and to really share events, historical events, things like this. You brothers, I'm glad that you're doing this. I'm surprised that like I said, I'm surprised that we're still talking about this, but I'm glad that we're talking about this because it is a love that I have as well. And that I've grown to love about our people.
I have permission to ask, Alpha, do you feel Black and Caribbean communities are truly benefiting economically from Carnival today?
No, I do not. And I even, like I said, I'm not, I don't understand why not. There's got to be a way. And that's what these discussions hopefully will bring. I do have some ideas in my head that I can offer and hope that I can help with and help bring to life that can help with that kind of thing, and can help to do that.
So if I have permission to just add a follow-up, what do you feel the barriers are to your knowledge for our people to benefit more economically from this?
Again, it's going to take a group of people that, just like it took a group of people to launch the first one, it's going to take a group of people that have that idea of okay, how do we do this? How do we pay the artisans? How do we give back to those that have given so much? The city makes money. If it was a tax or something, some kind of incentive through at that time period, every year they claim millions of people come to our fair city, and they spend money in the bars, they spend money in there and this, and the drop in the hat is not being handed back into an organization that is going to give back to the artisans. That is, so it's a hard circle to round up, but you got to remember that there's a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, because we're not talking about one band creating, we're not talking about McGlure and his band. We're talking about several bands that need something. McGlure does it because he loves it as well. And all the others, they're doing it because of love. There's got to be something that kind of brings it full circle. You know what I mean? There's something coming into town. They've got to sit down and somehow get something back, put it into it, and then also put it back into the pockets.
Cool. Just before we move forward, Juiceman Jonathan Saw says good evening. And also Saint Hando says, I think selling culturally relevant food is an opportunity. I think that's already being done,
yes,
to my understanding, but I'll put the comment up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think at the end of the day, I think, it's always, like I said, coming back to it, it's always a slippery place to be around, putting on something for the love, right? And to share the culture and to pass that on, which is, it's very important. And then the other side of that, there's the cost sometimes associated to that, right? So, and sometimes maybe what it is, and I'll put it out there, maybe, we put on something that's more feasible where we're not going to, quote unquote, lose our shirt, because there are several people who need to be paid in order to put on a parade, right? And several of the folks could be government officials. They could be police that need to be hired, venues that need to be rented and the likes. And of course, people being brought in. But I just feel like we may be at a place now, and I'd love to hear from the young people, because I think that's the missing part of the conversation. Really, is the young people, the new ideas. Even we talked about, the ability to create a documentary or an art installation, a museum that will talk about what's happening in Caribana. So I'd be very interested, and maybe we'll get some on the show, but really what young people think about it. But coming back to this, I think that, I don't know, maybe there's an opportunity to kind of turn back the clock and put on something, for ourselves that's more feasible. You mentioned your friend or your colleague, the person that's doing the 3-day festival, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we can go back, right?
Yes.
Back to the source.
Definitely.
Makes sense. That's me, but I don't know what the politics and everything is tied to it. But I would say sometimes, that may be an opportunity, right? Going back, right? Kofi just said going back to bring it forward. Can we still do that?
I think we can, and I agree with you about the youth. One of the things that my mandate with the Trinidad and Tobago Association is to bring in more youth and to get more youth members to join the organization, because they do have a lot of vibrant new ideas and new technologies and things like that to help boost the organization, and in doing so, touch upon this culture and again get it to bring it to a new audience, and whichever way, if it's going to be through a film, through a documentary, through a museum like thing that is open year round, that will, this is what goes on. I'm not going to be here for in the summer for thing, but let me find out more about what this is all about.
Right.
I saw there was something, they had some immerse Caribana or something like that, where they had some visual aids and things like that. So I see that those kind of things are coming, but it would be great to see it run by someone who has that kind of love for the culture.
100%. I feel it coming, brother. I feel it coming. So I think, once again, as we keep the dialogue going, it's one of the only ways that these things will take place, will happen, right? So we're going to get into a quick fire round, quarter to the hour. I want to get into some questions. 1-word answer. I'm going to throw it out to you. You ready?
Well, sure.
All right. 1 word to describe your very first Caribana you experienced.
Very first Caribana was shocking.
Steel pan or soca?
Oh, I'm a soca man.
Mass player, organizer, or spectator?
Mass player.
What's one thing today's Caribana gets right?
The costumes. The actual costumes with the king and queen showcase.
Beautiful. What's one thing Caribana needs to fix immediately?
Probably we've had so many different parade routes. I think it's something around that and around the security around having the band on the road as opposed to having the wildness.
Okay. I'll be interested to find out what route you would say. Who is one carnival pioneer that deserves more recognition?
There's a real group of them. There's a lot of them that need. I'd like one day to actually be able to answer that question. So there's quite a few.
I like that.
Give me one.
So many. Whitfield Velasco doesn't get his flowers as much as he should. And
which carnival era do you miss the most?
Man. So with the route, University, under the in the tunnel,
in the bridge.
The island.
Yeah.
Something about the bridge, right? What's your favorite carnival memory in one sentence?
Excitement. Oh, in one sentence now.
Yeah.
Sentence. Friends and family jumping up together.
If you could bring back one tradition, what would it be?
Again, the Island Festival.
There you go.
And what's the biggest misconception people have about Caribana?
That it makes money. I think there are some people that think, "Wow, look at all this," but they must be making money, you know.
And to put a caveat on that answer, that was the 10th question, but the caveat is who it makes money for, because it making all kind of money.
Yes, exactly. But then when you look at it, there are some people that are doing well. There are some people that are doing really well, but there are some people that are hurting, that are just doing their thing out of just pure, the love of the soca.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, and those who are just tuning in, thank you once again for tuning into tonight's show. For those that don't know, you know that when Caribana is finished, that people will book their hotel for next year before they leave Toronto and go back to the States, different parts of the world, wherever they're going back to, if they've traveled here for various reasons, but one to kind of secure that spot, right? And of course, the pricing would be different, booking in advance, but the hotels, the taxis, the Ubers, the nearby shops, the barber shops, the pubs, everything in between, the nights, the shows, all of these things, the cruises that are connected to this event are where the millions of dollars come into Toronto. And a part of the beef, of course, is the fact that those tourist dollars are not allocating themselves back to the community. And even if it was a small percentage, as they say, you can make a small percentage of a large amount and still walk away good. That small percentage, as we said, is not necessarily coming back. And people say, why don't we have a cultural center? We should be able to have a center for young people by here. Paul mentioned we should have a museum, these things, right? And some of these things have been attempted. But again, the resources, the manpower,
Yeah.
the human resource, these kind of things to sustain them will still kind of bring themselves back,
Yeah.
to this thing called money and the ability to
Mhm.
allocate resources properly.
And this is why we have the things like the scholarship funds that we put on for this youth, because what we'd like to see is that these youth not only get through their education and whatnot, but also to bring back to us as well and help us to grow and develop and help more youths along the way. They do it with the Trinidad and Tobago for Trinbago Festival, and we'd also do the same with the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Ontario. It would be nice that if we could get that small percentage back and be able to pour that money into more of those kind of things.
So I don't know if this question was asked, but do you think that having more of a collective voice, right, amongst organizers, from the festival organizers to, everybody in between the mass camps, that could create that kind of accountability, to the province, to the city, to Canadian tourism, whoever it is that needs to tap into, right? Do you feel like it has a little bit to do with the collectivity or even the lack of?
Yeah, there's been so many different groups throughout the years that have sort of taken or wanted to take it in a certain direction, and I think that where one person's idea is not agreed with, it becomes an ongoing thing, and this is probably, like I was saying with one of my friends, why his father doesn't want to be part of it is because of the bad blood that was in the background. So it's I hate to hear this thing that we're crabs in a barrel nonsense like that, because look at us here. We're coming together to discuss history, and nobody's pulling anybody down here, and that's what I would like to see with the movement to help save or harness that electricity that was developed back in 1967.
So you want to go, Dr. Vibe?
Yeah, quick one, because I see we're winding down on time here. In 10 years, what do you want the carnival to look like for Black communities here?
I'll steal your idea there. You said cultural center, something that again gives us that place. I've seen some things done in different places, and they'll come and share a little bit in Black History Month. But I'd like something that's more of a year-round, available, and available where the youth can learn about mask making, can learn about making of the different foods, can learn about music making, can learn. Look, one of my favorite artists last year and this year, he came to Toronto, and he said, this is where I made one of my songs 22 years ago, or 20, Kess, and he made it right here in Toronto. And it's just something about Toronto that makes him feel wonderful and gives him that warm feeling of home. And so I would like to see that carnival center.
Just a quick follow-up. What happens if these things don't happen?
Then we will continue. We'll be in year 69 still talking about it. Mm-hmm. So if we don't do something about it, then nothing will happen. And I'll take you back to 1967. If the person who came to my father and said, I'd like you to do this, and my father said, we're too busy for that, where would we be?
Good point.
Have a quick comment here. Saint Hando says, the youth are the future of our community. Remember, we are now the adults. We are because someone once saw leadership in us and nurtured us. We have a duty to guide our current youth despite obstacles.
That's right. 100%. We have to take the ball and now roll with it, and try to do something about it. So hopefully somebody's going to hear this and going to feel the same way we feel. I'm working in now real estate. Maybe I'll get together with somebody and find a suitable home for this. So I wish I really wish that we'd have that, and we work very closely with the Consul General's office. So there's a lot going on. Trinidad and Tobago Association, we put on a festival or a show called Mind Your Business. And we had put it on some years ago. And then this year I brought it back, and I thought, you know what, let's get the businesses, people in our, a chance to showcase what they have. Of course, it's not any time near Caribana. It's in fact probably, on the opposite side, right? So that they get a chance to show themselves. And so looking to do it again next year, and again, celebrate that and celebrate the businesses that are out there that need to shine 365 days of the year, except, and not just on the weekend of Lord Simcoe Day. And
All right. That's right. I'm going to plant the seed for the alpha, Caribana Homes.
All right.
Okay. Caribana Homes. All right. Caribana Realty, however you want to do it.
All right.
There you go.
And you start with one. With one.
Yeah.
And you be able to circulate some of the funds that come as a result of this property, right, back into this idea of the center, right? This is an idea, and then people being able to now invest into this concept, right? To say that every Caribana, maybe one home is purchased, right? That benefits community, right? So some form of affordable housing, but a percentage of those funds goes into the center.
Yeah.
There you go. We're putting ideas out for free today.
Well, we got a question here from Ryan Knight saying, how important is it for the name Caribana to return to the parade?
Ryan, it is history. It is what it came from. Somebody wants to try and take it away. It's like when I get my bonus and the government takes half of it. It's like, what can I do? Some government agency has taken the name, and of course there's fighting about that and different things. So right. How do we get it back? The thing is, it's in our hearts, and it can't be taken away just because they didn't take away the name. Remember, Prince lost his name. And again, before he passed, he'd taken it back. So it would be great to see. I think it is important.
Yeah, I would just want to echo the thing about it. I think sometimes, though names can be important, but understanding the spirit of what the celebration is about, where it's coming from, and sharing that piece is probably equally as more important than what we call it, because the name is definitely. I'm always going to call it Caribana, right? But that being said, always having the freedom to do that. But that being said, the who owns it or whatnot, that's a whole other thing I would say, because I don't believe anyone can own culture that you created, but unless you attempt to sell it. But even still, you don't have the right to sell it, right? Because it's from the people, it's from the culture. But yeah, we can bring back the Caribana name. We can use it anytime we want. There's nobody who can really say anything if that's what we choose to say, right?
Yeah.
Maybe legally you can just put an extra A on it, or you can just put an E inside there.
We don't have.
We're creative people, eh?
Yeah. It's ours, brother. No matter what, it's ours. It came from us, right? It was a gift. That's the irony. It was our gift, right?
That's right.
They can't tell you, you know what, you can't name your gift this or that, right? It's your gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's just my perspective.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Do we have any final thoughts to share with Alpha before we wind it down, gentlemen?
If you're a young person and you want to get involved, because I always make this joke, growing up, I didn't know of any Trinidadian. I always tell Alpha this. I didn't know of any Trinidadian organization that connected me as a young person, right? Having parents of Trinidadian descent, first generation in Canada. If I'm a young person and I want to get involved on whatever level, I want to be involved in some of the solutions. I want to be involved in other aspects of the parade. I want to learn about history, A, B, C, and D. What direction would you point them in? What kind of things could they do?
So
what steps could they take?
join as a member of the TNT, Trinidad and Tobago Association of Ontario. Help us to spread the message. Help us to volunteer at some of these events that are going on, like Trinbago Day, and stay closely connected to the Consul General's office, because they do some amazing events throughout the year to help, again, promote the culture. So as a young person, stay connected. We have a lot. I went to a little gathering yesterday, and I saw some of the different DJs from all over, and from a young man named Flex, who is actually the son of a good friend of mine, and to the Enforcers, to Dr. J, and I was like, I'm just standing there and listening to all of these gentlemen performing, playing, and for the crowd, it was like, yes, there was a lot of older people at this event, but the young people know of these names. They hear of these names. And they're now calling them Uncle J and this one and that one. But again, the music is there. It's bringing them all together.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'd love to speak more on this topic. I think one of my next articles, I'm currently contributing writer to Toronto Caribbean newspaper, being now rebranded as TCN, and I'd love to kind of explore this topic from an aspect of my column, which is From the Inside Out. And how does this piece around our culture, coming from Trinidad, and all the pieces that connect to Carnival, affect us internally, and how does that spirit of Carnival connect to our freedom and our liberation? Because that's where this all came from. Right?
That's correct.
Continue that
100%. Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to continuing the dialogue, brother. I'm thankful so much for you coming through, bringing your knowledge, wisdom, and experience, and the talk continues, because Black men can talk, and we will continue to talk on this topic as things come to manifest.
Thank you for the invite. I truly feel blessed to be part of this thing, and continue to look at what we can do to develop and continue to spread and share the gifts of the spirit of Caribana.
Excellent. Good way to close it out. We've got one more comment here. St. Hannah says, thank you, gentlemen, for an amazing show. I'm not always available every Sunday, but whenever I am, I attend, and it's a treat. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Also, if you want to get a hold of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Ontario, there it is, TNTAON.com / and it's also in the comments section on most of the platforms that you're watching this live on replay. If you want to get a hold of Mr. Sadat, email there, nazojam@gmail.com, Instagram, Maroon, that's 2 O's. 2 O's, double time, on Instagram and YouTube, NASA Community, Facebook, paul.osborne.31. Kofi Morris, you can find him at taplink.cc / Kofi Coach. Myself, taplink.cc / the DRVIBESHOW.com. Also, if you have an idea, thoughts, comments, whatever, email us, BLKMAMEN. CN can talk, blackmencantalk@gmail.com. And finally, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, and Paul Osborne on Facebook. So as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider, love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. And will we see you this weekend on the streets? God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good.
You
Why do you do that, buddy?